Figured out.
Okay. You want me to turn a light on or something?
Sure, turn a light on or something. Hey everybody, it's Pete. We're working on trying to get Marvin into the studio. He's got a storm out by where he is, and so we're waiting, trying to sort out his comms. In the meantime, we have best-selling author, retired major, USMC Scott Huesing. And Scott, I got Marvin calling me, so
Right on.
you talk to these guys. I'll talk to Marvin.
We're going to hop on live here. Once Marvin gets dialed in, we're going to be talking about his story. Recently featured People Magazine, exclusive about all the work he's doing as a military veteran, working with an issue that is very close to what me and Pete do, post-traumatic stress. And, you know, this is another guy that's coming on the show that has just a remarkable story that you got to tune in for, just so make sure that you don't hop off, because we often talk about this in the veteran space about how to help veterans, you know, all the different types of modalities there are. And I don't think I've ever run across a single veteran that uses this type of therapy, for lack of a better term. Some people like to go to the head shrinker. Some people like to use pharmaceuticals. Some people like to use THC. Some people like to microdose some hallucinogens. Some people like to ride their Harley across the country, and some people like to follow them. But there's all kinds of different modalities, and we found in the veteran space, at least, that one size does not fit all. And one of the things that we've also found that there's really no pill or vaccine that is a cure-all. But what we found through the nonprofit side of it at SaveTheBrave.org is that connection is really the cure. And in this episode with Pete and Marvin, you're going to see a very, very unique connection on how Marvin is using his type of therapy. So, Pete, we got Marvin on board.
I'm working on Marvin right now. I got a chance to check in with you. Yeah, you know, it's funny because Marvin's particular mode, basically talking to cows. You know, and
I didn't want to give it away.
well, I'm waiting on Marvin. I'm gonna use some good stuff. But he didn't know this was gonna happen. Like his dad used to take him to this guy's ranch when he was a kid, and Marvin was suicidal. You know, and he was trying to figure it out. His dad's like, "Come down to Florida, go to this ranch. You guys can read about this in People Magazine. This is a pretty big deal." And Marvin realized, oh my God, this helps. These guys, these cows, I can communicate with them in a way that I can't communicate with other people.
How is it verbal communication? Is it similar to equine therapy? We got to find out. I'm dying to hear Marvin tell me about this, because again, I've been retired since December of 2013 and have been swimming in these waters of veteran space since then, and have run across thousands of people that just use all sorts of different stuff. And we know a lot of people that use equine therapy, riding, grooming, training.
Yeah.
It's going to be real interesting to hear about all of the ins and outs of his program that he uses. You know, I just can't wait to hear about this.
It's turned into a business too. He turned into a rancher. You know, like he's like, this is what I do. And even when he's walking these cows into the slaughter chute, this is all in the People Magazine article you guys probably have all read. You know, he's like, I love these cows. All right, off you go. You know, but like he loves them every step of the way. He's still doing his job, but he's able to, you know, find balance, you know. And he did a lot of support for special operations. He's an intel guy like me. And I get it, you know, the pace of operations. Like I know you get it too. The pace of operations, the intensity of operations, the short dwell times back at home, all that stuff has a cost, you know. And boy, and then we go and we don't win. I mean, it gets to be heavy on your soul and on your psyche.
I've got a laundry list of questions piling up in my brain right now that I want to ask Marvin once he beats calm. Normally, this is me battling calm. So at least I've gained altitude and reestablished and maintained better communication, so we get to get the show rolling here. For those of you standing by, waiting for us, just a quick reminder that everything Pete does through the show and everything I do as the executive director of Save the Brave, you can help out the show by subscribing on YouTube for the Break It Down show. You can also go to savethebrave.org, see what we do. We're a 100% veteran nonprofit. Me and Pete are both veterans. I think most listeners know that. And you go to savethebrave.org. You can find out what we do. We connect veterans who are struggling with post-traumatic stress through outreach programs. We started a offshore fishing program 7 years ago. Last year, we did 32 trips, and we do a slew of events throughout the year. Pete was with me last month as I rode my Harley again across the country and raised over $52,000 to help support all the programs that we do. And you can be a part of that. So go to savethebrave.org. Go to the Break It Down show on YouTube, click subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing. It'll cost you something if you go to savethebrave.org. You can make a donation, or you can make a small recurring monthly donation, $5-10. It's less than a tank of gas here in California, maybe not so much elsewhere, but you guys can really be a part of helping change the lives of veterans. And we're about to talk to another really interesting one here coming up once Marvin gets on board.
Marvin is... You go ahead, Marvin. What's it saying? He's on his way into the studio. It's just, buttons. He's pushing buttons now as we're talking. He's just working on sometimes you click the link and it just throws you right in and you're good. Other times your computer's got 1,500 damn questions for you, and an update. Yeah. So that's sort of what he's fighting. And there's a big old thunderstorm in North Carolina. Hey, I wanted to ask you, Scott, when you're riding, we get direct sun heat, you get desert blazing hot Gila Bend heat, you get steamy water coming up off the road, humidity heat. It hasn't quite rained yet, and you're just dying for it to rain heat. Which of those heat brands are the worst when you're on your motorcycle? Because there are so many different kinds of heat that we experience.
Humidity, by far. When we rolled through Houston and Alabama, that was probably the most oppressive type of heat. And I've been in all kinds. But, we had 118 degrees in Gila Bend, but that South Houston, New Orleans, that heat was just oppressive, man. I mean, and then it rained, which is a little bit of respite from the temperature itself, but it's short-lived, and it creates a massive hazard for not only me, but the riders that are on the road with me, all the other Harleys, and then the cars behind me, and it's just a mess. And so yeah, the rain was something else, and the storm we hit in Louisiana was again for those that have seen Final Destination, the movie, we experienced that 18-wheeler, the tarp came off of it, and that rod where you crank it up. All I saw was that thing just bouncing off of the asphalt and ramming itself right through the visor of my windshield, through my skull, and definitely slow down to keep out of the way of that. But we, it was a great ride. We haven't done a show, or we didn't do the recap like we did last year for the Ride for the Brave. Man, again, I was just writing about that for San Diego Vets Magazine today. And, the numbers speak for themselves. Over $52,000 raised, 400 plus riders on the road, thousands more at 9 cities in 9 days. I think I drank 3 cases of Red Bull. I don't know how many gallons of gas we used with the convoy, but it was a great event. Great event. And
when John Leon Guerrero came out, for those who don't know, he joined us in Dallas and took off in New Orleans, and his it changed him.
Well, and that's where you really see the glue that binds us all together, because John has been a supporter and he is a donor as well. He drops money in every single month. I see his name come up. We send thank you notes, and But I think that although he's been to several events, to fly from California to Texas, hop in the truck, and then see the outpour of support, I'm sure it was a little overwhelming. It is for me, and this is the third year I've done it. So having John out there was great, and he's invaluable logistician on the team during the ride. So he was great having him on board. So a lot of thanks to go around to a lot of people, but John was definitely one of them.
John also delivered on Baby Bash. How great was Baby Bash?
He was awesome. What an authentic dude. That's really what it takes, though, to come out on I think, what do we hit Houston on a Monday or a Sunday, and you come out in the middle of the day and link up with us and hang out with the vets. It was pretty cool. So.
And also, you got a chance to meet Chris Thomas King.
Yeah, I got his book sitting right here. As a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to reading it.
Man, Marvin is having trouble every step of the way here with this. I'm not sure what's going on here. Maybe we'll just end up being a recap. So I'm going to talk to Marvin real quick.
Sure. One of the I'll talk about one of the unique and amazing benefits of what we did, not just for the Ride for the Brave, but one of the other programs that we started this year was a scholarship program for the children of veterans who committed suicide and deserving family members. And last Sunday, it was my honor to be up in San Francisco with Pete, who lost his brother to suicide last year, and we were able to present a $10,000 check to Kayla Turner as she continues her studies as a junior at Cal Poly East Bay. And it was a small, intimate ceremony up there. We did some media, which was important because it shares that part of the great story that although there's a lot of veterans, countless numbers that have killed themselves, and we are extremely aware that there's families that are left behind. And Pete and me, this is such a very personal issue to us. To be able to go up and bring some happiness into Kayla's life was just immense. It was really, really a spectacular day to be up there. And I think when me and Pete were driving back the next day, we realized that what a life-changing thing we were able to be a part of, to hand someone a check for $10,000 to go to college. I can imagine that as a guy that was donating blood plasma on Tuesdays and Thursdays at Illinois State so I could keep the lights on in my crappy apartment. Having someone walk up to me here and give me a scholarship like that, and it wasn't, I think what was most important too was, despite the circumstances, your niece, Kayla, she's earned it. I mean, she's a kick-ass woman. She's a badass student. She's been on honors in high school and college, and she's, making ends meet despite a huge, huge loss in the family. But she earned every single dollar that, and every applicant I think we get moving forward next year. I know we'll do at least one, but my goal is to, man, I'd love to give 5 $10,000 checks out every single year. That's my goal. That's my new goal. I just threw it out there. So
I love it.
Yeah.
I wanted to say this: the ability to give this to the family of the fallen, to take this load off, to give them this moment of recognition. It's huge.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that it's such a personal thing, and you don't want to pry too much and ask, but the thought crossed our mind too, because we're nosy people by nature as writers, and people that like to ask a lot of questions. How it really made them feel, and sometimes it takes a little while to really figure that out and answer that question. But I know that everybody that was involved in this, from the donors to all the staff and volunteers and all the other veterans that we serve at Save the Brave, I know that just my phone was blown up when I shared that picture of Kayla receiving the check at the Marines Memorial Club, and the response I got from was just blown away. So that was really cool. I think it's another example of people always wonder when they're donating money to a nonprofit or a veteran nonprofit for that matter, where does the money go? And I mean, you could post a picture of it on any of our social media, and you can see right there. There's where $10,000 goes. It takes a long time to raise $10,000. We've got some very generous donors that give a lot of their wealth. We've got more people to give of their time, but it's not an easy feat to be able to do that and still be able to service the rest of the veteran population that we do at SaveTheBrave.org, because we do a lot of offshore fishing because we found that, it does hit the reset button for a lot of guys. They feel comfortable out there. We've got the right chemistry of professional fishermen that take them offshore. We've got the right equipment through Phoenix Rods, and we've got the right donor support that keeps these trips going, where once they get out there, they know it's not going to be some booze cruise where they're just out floating around, hacking at fish on the water, telling sea stories. No pun intended. But it really is transformational to see how that type of outdoor activity allows them to hit the reset button. But what's more is that once that reset button is hit, that qualitative metric of how we measure success with what we do comes back to us by the number of guys that want to go fishing again, but not just to get something free. They want to come back to give. They want to help other vets. And I think that is really in our ethos. They're not just words, they mean things to connect, empower, and then continue to serve our veteran community. And we've seen that time and again. So if you're listening to this episode as we're waiting to listen to another great veteran story, go to SaveTheBrave.org and check us out after the show.
And while you're going to SaveTheBrave.org, you can also do our latest thing, which involves rowing to Derna on a rowing machine. So you go to your local gym or in your house or wherever you've got a rowing machine, and you can row with us. It's 520 miles in 50 days. This is no joke. This is like a serious endeavor of rowing, and cost you $40 to get in. And all of the profit of that goes right back into the charity. So everybody's going to get a medal. My buddy Brian manages it from the Border Rowing Company. He's a veteran himself. And listen, it's not gentle rowing 520 miles in 50 days, but nor is road marching for 520 miles across the damn desert from Alexandria, Egypt to Derna, Tripoli. And so that's our latest thing that we're doing, and will be a lot of fun. The link for that is right there. It's also in the comments on YouTube and on Facebook. If you want to look at the link for that, it's also at the Border Rowers Facebook page, the profile page. So there's a lot of places where you can go and check out where to sign up for the row to Derna. 520 miles. Scott, this is one of the most iconic things that can happen. It's like the Marines. You guys sing about this. You carry swords about this. It's the first time the U.S. flag. Because look, I think the nation was brand new in 1805 when this, this road march happened and then a battle. There was a great parlay, where General Eaton, I'm doing quotey fingers, General Eaton says, "Hey, we want to pass through and maybe get some chow." And the governor's like, "My head or yours?" So Lieutenant O'Bannon and 8 Marines and a multinational task force of about 500 dudes are like, "All right." And then they went after it. It's such a neat thing to be able to go do.
Yeah, it exemplifies my adage of, just being great at what you're great at. Rowing, biking, whatever it is.
Horses, cows, dogs.
Right. Brian has built this international coalition himself. There are rowers from, every continent where there are people. So not Antarctica, although I'm sure we could probably find someone who, some PhD is like, I'm going to go to Antarctica, but I'm bringing my Concept 2 Model D rower with me. But he's got people in Australia. He's got people all over Asia and Europe. Easy. That's not a problem. Africa. I mean, it's an incredible thing where he's built all of these people that are passionate, not only about charity, but also about fitness. And let me tell you something, these rowing maniacs, they'll throw it down 25 miles in a day and be like, "Yeah, I'll probably do it again tomorrow." Like they're just They're insane. They row so hard, so long. It's crazy.
How long does it take to row 25 miles? I ask because I've never done it.
Yeah. Well, if you're reasonably fit, you can row 6,000 meters in half an hour. Pretty easy. Like that's like walking. And so 6,000 meters times, what is that? Like 4.5 hours, maybe like about like running a marathon, about the same kind of pace. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And they're just nuts like that. They'll chew this 520 miles up. It'll be like, oh, it's kind of a short one, They'll be a little disappointed, but they'll do it, and they're great people. There's an 83-year-old lady who just yanks on that thing, and you see her, and she's just got pep, and she comes back like, and a lot of times we're rowing, like you'll be like in a virtual room, and she like have a sign, Peter's awesome, Peter's awesome, and everything. So they get fired up. Everybody should do this thing. It's such a fun thing to do, and for $40, why not?
Yeah, I love hearing those stories about the seniors who are in their 80s and they're kicking gravity in the teeth. I love sharing those stories, like that guy Gus who linked up with us in Alabama or South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, I can't remember, but he was 84 years old on his Harley busting down state highways. Man, that's crazy. That Marine just did not quit.
Can you believe what's about to happen here?
Damn it, man.
Marvin, come through.
You're right. It's a miracle.
Yeah. So up above me, that's Scott Huesing. He wrote a book called Echo and Ramadi. It's a bestseller. He's a longtime Marine officer, 20 plus years. He saw combat in Ramadi. So you know the kind of guy he is. He's the executive director of Save the Brave. And of course, you know me. I'm Pete. Break it down. So everybody, this is Marvin. And Marvin is a cattle rancher. And he also is a guy like me who's had a lot of PTSD. And you sorted it out. And it's all in People magazine. You sorted it out through cows.
I did, brother. I did. First, thank you for having me here, guys. I greatly appreciate that. Thank you for that. Cattle, man, is something, man, that my dad saw that it would help me out big time, and to bring me back to something I'm very used to. We're used to being together around a lot of people, and cattle is that similarity for me, and it surely teaches you patience. I can tell you that. From where I have a lot of high adrenaline, I mean, I want to run through things or tear things up, whatever, but agriculture teaches you patience. Yeah.
I'm leaving room for Scott.
Oh, well, I think for those of us that haven't read the People magazine article, tell everybody kind of a little bit about your background, Marvin, your service, and then some of that, maybe just lean into some of the struggles that you've been through, that all of us have been through, that we can relate to, at least in this little window here. And there's hundreds of thousands others that'll listen that want to know too. But to those that aren't familiar with that, let's share that part of your story. Absolutely,
greatly. Just like anybody else, starting out in the military, you think it's all good and gravy, and next thing you know, you're deployed. Going on deployments, brother, definitely shook up my morals, values, and my beliefs for things that I'm, definitely wasn't used to. Born and raised, of course, in the South. I'm originally from Florida, a place called Melbourne, Florida. And being raised up there, I was raised up with my father, both my parents, of course, but my father was a minister, so those backgrounds is definitely inside of me that way. And then going through deployments, brother, that definitely shook us up. And I didn't know I was dealing with that. I didn't know how to get out of it or address my personal issues. Personally, I didn't even know if I was having issues just like anybody else. We just called it, we call that professionalism when we were just truly just being straight anal. And I almost committed suicide, brother, just to say that it disturbed me so bad that I almost committed suicide. If we could just speak plainly on here, I was in position to do so. 9 mil sitting in the lap, and out of the blue, my mom called. I was like, how did this come up? And my mom called, and she knew I wasn't feeling well. I'm always checking in with my parents, but this one time I was just in a very, very dark place. Words were short, didn't want to talk to nobody. You know, I was being slightly disrespectful to my mom, and that's never me. And I just told my mom I just don't want to be here no more. And I was fed up with it. That was enough for what I can have, what I can handle, brother. And she said, you need to talk to your dad. And my dad is my superhero to me. My dad is one of those guys. I can't say I grew up without a father. I can't say I grew up without a mother. None of that. I grew up with my parents, but my dad was that guy that I can depend on, I can count on. We could talk about anything and everything, but I was struggling in that area to talk to him about that, but he got it out of me. And he told me to, take that thing apart. I dismantled it, man. And he told me to go to his friend's house, and he wanted to hear me hand it over to him. And the next day, man, I put in some leave over in Swick, and put in some leave from there, and I came home. I came home for that weekend, and I went to his friend's house that he had set up that night before that I did not know about. His name is Mr. Williams, and he had cattle. He had beef cattle. He's a Vietnam veteran. And I went over to his house, and that's what he did for the longest. And that's how I got started into beef cattle, and seeing the association of the same way of how agriculture is a great source for me or anyone else that's, like us, man, that there's a solution other than a lot of these meds that we take. It's a lot easier for me.
Let me ask you this, because there's a thing people say is like, before you do it, before you kill yourself, I want you to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
But I say that, hey, listen, when you're at the end of your rope hanging on both hands, you don't got a hand free to grab your phone and reach out. Your mom calls you.
Yeah.
When you're dangling there. Could you have called anybody at that point, or were you prepared to exit?
No, I definitely wasn't scared, brother. I was more embarrassed once my mom knew, but another 10 minutes from there, man, it'd been a wrap, man. I was already committed to it. But once my mom found out, I was truly embarrassed. And that makes sense because I never wanted to fail my parents, but to me, I felt like a failure in so many different ways. I picked up bad habits. Of course, there's alcohol we'll pick up, or there's a sexual addiction we'll pick up, or to add to that, there's that passive aggressiveness or become a binge spender. So one of the four is something that we're going to do. And I was just, man, real short, looking for a way out and looking for an excuse, anything that I could do, man, to just call this thing quits here.
Yeah.
But
just
the Lord had another plan for me, so here I am.
You weren't going to call anybody at that point. I mean, that's it's sort of the big thing is like, let's stop saying reach out before you go. Like, let's all reach out to the person who needs reaching out to. Let's give them a hand rather than asking for one. That's
right.
That's sort of,
brother, I hope this podcast helps others, because I want to be vague and talk about a few things on this here. For the people, man, that talk about helping us, the question of the day is the questions that they're asking us is just not relevant to a lot of things, and it really gets on our nerves when they're asking us things, because number one, they don't know what the environment is where we just came from, or can they relate to anything, or do they show care or enthusiasm about it? So at that point we could realize that why am I even talking to you? Or what is this purpose for anyway? You reading out of a textbook anyway. You're not showing care or emotions or any of the above, so it's just it became endless for me to even worry about that anymore. And that's how I was building up, feeling, I had a big hole in me I just could not feel. I'm sure you guys can relate to that,
Okay.
So to help the other veterans, I mean, obviously we want to tell those that have a lack of understanding, don't ask these stupid questions, because there are stupid questions in this world. But to the veterans that are out there, and I've talked to plenty, and I was just talking to another guy that I served with in the Army. He was under my Marine command, and he started talking about all these things that we do and we see, and all the trauma that we accumulate that creates this anxiety and depression and leads us to those points like you with a gun on your lap, thinking you're hopeless, and there's all of this buildup, and it got me thinking. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, and how it maybe led you to cows. But there's a lot of things we see in combat, or even in the military. There's things we see before we even join: childhood trauma, broken homes, car accident, whatever the case may be. And then that's compiled and compounded with the horrific things we see at war. But I have been thinking lately about not just the things we do and see, but those regrets and the things we thought we should have done. What about all of those omissions of action or decisions that take place under those circumstances that I think really add to that survivor's guilt mentality that a lot of veterans deal with? And we hear this often. So I'd like to hear, how does that affect you, and how did it drive you to cattle? No pun intended right there. That was a good one, though.
That was a good one. That was a good one. The word of the day, and I'm coming from the Army side of the fence here, brother, on this one. In the Army, we're evaluated on our NCOER from where we get what's called a 1 block, 2 block, or 3 block. And that block is how well you're doing something, throughout your career. So if you're thinking of all the time you've been doing stuff in your military career and you're getting 1 blocks, and that means you're doing an outstanding job, your self-esteem is always high all the time, and you're looking for that 1 block. You're that go-to hero that people are looking for. You're that guy that's a great subject matter expert in that field. But when you get out of the military, we don't know how to turn off the 1 block mentality no more. We're still forever thinking of everything that we could do. How do I get to a 1 block? And I'm not being evaluated no more, but no one showed me how to turn that off. I'm forever still looking for that 1 block. But now no one knows me as that subject matter expert, brother, that's, come from this side of the fence. And now I'm over here in the civilian world, and no one knows my name. No one knows who I am. I don't feel appreciated. That's how we become that. And in my mind, I'm now getting 2 and 3 blocks. Well, my dad introduced me to livestock. My dad introduced me to beef cattle. It's not my first time dealing with cattle in my life. Me and my dad go to rodeos all the time. I rode bulls before, so it's just, he spun me back around to something that I fell in love with as a kid, and I'm forever associating with him. Inside of that, brother, that beef cow, that cow gives me a sense of purpose, accountability, brother, and a reason to want to get up in the morning, man, to get up and take care of this animal. And I got a accountability partner I could talk to. I tell my cattle, brother, that, hey, I had a bad dream. I had a bad night. I went through this, or whatever that was. I tell my cows that, brother. I get into a deep conversation with my cattle. Why? Who do we have that we could talk to about certain things that we've been through? You know what I mean? So for me to get it out, it's easy for me to talk about it at the fence line with my livestock. And then I can come in the house and I'm not angry, or as angry, let me quote unquote say that, as angry, and I can learn to talk to my wife again now, brother. And I can see things that it's not so bad. And now without me conveying to my wife, now I'm seeing 1 blocks now, quote unquote. I'm seeing the success of, we just got to talk, and it's not as bad as we think it is. Sometimes we put too much stress on ourselves. We want it now because the military is based on, if you need it, it's available. You need pens, paper, bullets, beans, supply daddy got it. They have the resources. But when we get out of the military, Scott, guess what? We don't have those resources no more. And that's where the stressors come in at. So my dad had me to create a brand, Briarwood Cattle Farm here, to where I can achieve those yeses. You know what I mean? I can get to a yes, 1 day at a time. Do I still have struggles? You better believe it, brother. This is not a fix all. Do I still have issues with everything? You better believe it, brother. You better believe it. But now I'm closer to where I could talk to my wife without blaming other people. I take initiative of myself, and I commit to myself that I need to do better in that versus me pointing the finger as if like that's my soldier mentality. It's easy to point the finger at just your Joe and blame them for it, and when you haven't took the full responsibility. Now I'm learning those actions, Scott, and that's what agriculture does for me.
It brings up a couple questions, is especially for veterans or anyone in the private sector too, that because we don't own stress and anxiety and depression, but how when you transition out of a team sport or a team environment like the military, how do you evaluate yourself? How do you lead yourself? I've asked myself that question several times, but have I ever sat down and given myself an eval? No. And it begs another question: do we really need that type of affirmation from others? And those others, does it matter who gives that affirmation or evaluation more than others? Is it military guys? Is it my family? I don't know. That you really brought up some great questions that I got to answer now.
You know, Scott, a great point to that, and we're talking on here. We have conversations back at your job, and those conversations equate to things that we just don't talk about because we're around the fellas all the time. And we could talk about certain things that stay there that never come back home, or that's just between us fellas there. You know, I'm gonna use the word locker room talk there. But when you get out and you don't have nobody to talk to, it'll eat you alive. And now people, man, are so distanced, you know, from each other anymore. It really bothers the crap out of you because, dang, I can't get a hold of the person I used to talk to all the time because now they're finding their own path and they're busy at it, brother. But dang it, what happened to our bond we had then and now? So that was all part of the rebranding and getting myself together and taking onus for my own actions. I can't go back down that road anymore, man, and want to put that thing back up to my head no more. Nor do I want to see any other brother or sister do that, because there is a way out for that. And there is a way for us to help each other. And I just want to be a voice, man, to say things of how we could do it in agriculture is what one main thing that teaches us patience, brother. From where, as a passive aggressive demeanor, passive aggressive attitude, passive aggressive person, Marvin, we're on seed time in agriculture, and that seed is going to humble you every single day. I can't rush that seed, brother. Soldier, get over there and make that happen. Seed, you sit down and you got to wait on me kind of mentality. Mother Nature rains, God dog it, I need to get out here and water it. I got to figure out a way. So it teaches you to regenerate your mind, brother, in a where you still use those skill sets, but now you got to work with Mother Nature. It's not a fix all, though. Yeah.
I mean, you talked about how, like, you get better, right? And by better, you mean better than before, not all the way better. I mean, I had, and Scott will tell you, I had my moment. I had a bad mental day. I've built up tools and barriers between my therapist and myself. I've learned how to protect myself from myself. But, it was a couple of small things stacked up in one. And we're working hard. We're under a lot of stress. I'm physically working. There was at least one 20+ hour day, that went on this ride that we were on. Man, I had a day where half the day I just wanted to go into the woods and shoot myself, right? And I can talk to you about this because we have to have this conversation. I wasn't going to do it, but being better is still a rocky road, right? There's still days where you're like, I know I'm going to get through today, and I know what I'm feeling isn't reality. So I'm just going to have to, I call it for myself, I call it like limp mode, right? And I just shut my emotions down. And I don't try to jump 8 foot over the 8-foot bar. I just put the bar on the floor and I'm like, look at me walking across the bar, and the bar is not up at all. Right. But that's good enough. Maybe it's a long nap that day, whatever it is, but I go into protection mode because my body, my brain are telling me that I'm in danger. Right. And it's the one thing I didn't want was to tell everybody and have them be like, oh, look out for Pete. Look out for, I'm like, no, man, I'm going to be fine. I've got these tools, but I'm in this place through a lot of hard work, taking care of my brain and my psychological, my mental health. that's, I've learned to treat that like going to the gym, and I have to prioritize that time every day to get my head right.
Pete, that's an excellent way. In my world, I equate that as looking for validation. I did not know that I was a valuable person. I didn't feel like it, but now these beef cattle give me a purpose, because now I could take that validation and time, and I could produce a steak or some ground beef or something to see someone smile. Within that, Scott, that made me smile again, because just to see someone eating, that made me feel better. From where we've been to some places, man, from where, dang it, I'm tired of these MREs here. You know what I mean? We can have something a little bit better here. And if I may say this, the validation part is what we're all missing, because we were validated in uniform. It was on your chest. It said U.S. Army. We had a job. It came with benefits and insurance, or it had your branch on it. The only thing that we're missing now is believing in ourselves and knowing that we are valued. But we got to circumvent ourselves, man, around people of likeness. If I keep pushing myself around a lot of people that didn't believe in me at the time, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. Mentally is what I'm pertaining to right now. I wouldn't be, because I would still be accepting that mentality of looking for for that whimper mentality. And then I'm a lion, and I got a thorn in my paw, Scott. And my left hand, I just cannot get this thorn out my paw because it's too big. I got to ask for help. I need to lean on my brothers here, Scott and Pete, man. Help me with this. Let me talk to you, man, about my day. Just 5 minutes of your time. I know you're busy, but I just need to talk to somebody that understands. We're taught in the military to maximize our day. We're taught, man, to get up early in the morning and do something, man, that's valuable with ourselves, exercise, write something down, whatever it may be that you like to do. But when that sun goes down, we want to make sure that we did something to accomplish that day. That's exactly what we did in the military. The whole entire time we did our 20 plus years, or whatever time we did. Now I use that same mentality in agriculture. I maximize my day with livestock. I maximize my time with my family first. Scott, of talking about the Lord so much, but you can't get me to change that now. I know my worth now. You know what I mean? So let's get it on. Yeah.
How do you talk about your family and faith, and how do you balance that with cattle? And it's interesting too. You mentioned you want to surround yourself with like-minded people, but you're hanging out with cows all day. Is that part of your isolation that's a positive thing for you, is to connect with those massive beasts, 1,000+ pounds, and to really be able to just feel that energy and be present and know that is your time? And are there times when your family needs more of you and you got to break away from the cattle?
I do, Scott. I started out for me to spend that quality time, I need to get my fence line together first. There's an old saying, the grass is green on the other side. If you don't have a solid fence line, those cows are going to be gone. So once I secured my fence line, that gave me more time in the day for me to spend time to eat a decent breakfast, to try to work on my issues, man, that I can have and admit them. And as far as circumventing myself around people of likeness, Scott, what I mean by that, man, is me literally talking to anyone to get me to the next level of agriculture, from going from a hobby farmer to a commercial individual. So for me, talking to someone in the commercial field, my dad always told me, if you found the resources, you found the dollar. And what that means, that people that have resources, they could throw away more things that they're done with when they started a project, which is the exact resources for you to start on something brand new, and it costs you absolutely nothing. So you circumvent yourself around people of likeness that have the resources, you'll find a dollar that you could save. And that's what I mean by that, brother. Now, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. For example, I'm a huge fan of Black Angus cattle. So I'm forever talking with the North Carolina Cattlemen's Association, with those guys. I'm forever talking to NCBA, National Cattlemen's Beef Association, next level. Something that's going to get me and my family to the next level. From taking something from being a hobby farmer to this now, Scott. You know what I mean? So it takes 19 to 23 months, brother, to process one animal. And that is something that is part of the food chain now. So it took time for me to say, hey, you know what? That's interfering with my business. That interferes with my mental health now. So this is what the solution to it for me, to get ready to do my own processing plant now, from where we could bring our own beef cattle in, and then process it and then keep food on the table. Scott, food is national security. And brothers, we know that. We can set the right people. We can set our law enforcement. We can set our firefighters, all of our key people, the church minister, team leaders. It doesn't matter. Whoever, you set them in front of a plate and some food, we can have some good conversation, brother. That's what I like to do.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's for real. Actually, my girlfriend and I just entered a contest trying to work with Reynolds Wrap. And that's one of the things that we were saying is, like my background as a spy, if you could get me in front of someone, if I could cook for them, okay, look, cooking for me, that's great. That definitely works. Here's where the next gear, here's where the overdrive gear comes in, and you go from 90 to 120 real fast.
Exactly.
Let me cook for you when
Yes.
I'm in your country. When I cooked for the Iraqis, when I cooked for the Afghans, and it wasn't often I got to do it, man, it was special, right? And
That's
so
right.
you're getting it. Food changes dynamics for people, for sure.
That's exactly right.
Marvin, you might be in a position to get recalled to the Army, because I don't know if you know this or not, but there's actually a vet that works for the USDA that there's a bison project at Camp Pendleton that they manage. And there's also a railway system, MOS, at Camp Pendleton, California, because in the event that we take over this huge landmass, we need to raise, feed, slaughter cattle to feed mass armies. And then we need to ship it across this country, take China or Russia, for example. And we need people trained in the military on how to operate a railroad. That still exists. That's how vital it is. So when you say something as simple as it's part of the food chain,
Yeah.
the average ordinary American or individual has no idea of that whatever 24-month process from cradle to grave, so to speak, of how much work goes into that one animal that they enjoy when they eat a hamburger.
That's true.
They just don't.
Brothers, I'm glad you brought that up. I want to share something with you that's right in our face, that if you're not in agriculture, you'll totally miss it. If either one of you are next to your computer right now, I really would like for you to look up China building hotels for hogs.
I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Pete,
Yeah.
explain a little bit while we're waiting for Pete.
Absolutely, brother. They're building large hotels like in Las Vegas for their hogs now, and they're raising on every floor a different level of their hog level of how they're raising their swine now, in the event of there's an emergency for food chain breaking. So we're saying things, man, that the United States is ready, man, to move forward with this food chain for Americans to do it, but we're not ready, brother. We're not ready. We need to pay more attention to land, of course. We need to pay more attention to processing, how to process. Hey, traditional living is what I'm talking about right now. We need to learn, man, how to take a carcass and maximize the yield up off of that with our meat. They're light years ahead of us. If the food chain was stopped right now, where are we going to get our food from? Who's going to do it is the key, because now we're getting our food from Brazil, China, Mexico. A lot of that is what's coming into the United States, and that's how we're eating now. But if we pay attention to what's going on, you really need to know what they're doing and how they're doing it, and we need to mimic that. So if you pay attention, I'm sure you see it by now, brother. They're building full hotels, and they're raising hogs in them. You see it yet, Pete?
Yeah. I pulled it up. Here's the link for everybody right here. And by the way, but before we plug Chinese pig hotels, why don't y'all go to Briarwood cattlefarm.com and support the man's work, man? This is what it's really about. Like, show him that this is what the Break It Down show people do. We go out, we do it. So even if it's just getting yourself a Briarwood Cattle Farm shirt and some bacon or whatever it is, some eggs, man, get out there and go support that, man. Here's the link to Al Jazeera. It's great. I used Al Jazeera because it's Al Jazeera and they're talking about pigs. You think they wouldn't even do that, but here they are. China builds pig hotels for better biosecurity.
Yeah.
So there you go. No joke. That's great, man.
Yeah. Coffee is going up now. Look where coffee comes from. If we're not paying attention to our agriculture, man, we're losing. We're losing big time. And we got to support our agriculture. And that's where I find peace at. That's where I get a chance to meet other brothers and sisters here in agriculture, because we have huge limits from what we can and can't do, Pete. And and there's communities out there, there's outfits out there that help with tractors or help with outfitting tractors for amputees or whatever it may be that we need help with. There's people out there to help us out, and we just got to be a voice, man, and get out and just reach out for it and say we need help with it and not feel ashamed about it no more. Remember, I got a thorn in my paw, brother, and I'm not ashamed to have that in there. I gotta let the young bucks move forward. Now they're faster than me, they're stronger than me. Hey, all I could do is waste my time now and just wait it on out now. But I can't rush that no more. I'm very thankful for that, to be alive every day, Pete, to realize how good life is.
Same. And then I think it's important too to kind of spin that perspective camera around and see that person who wants to be helpful to somebody else, by hiding that thorn in your paw as you limp around and everybody can see it, and give them an opportunity to shine as well, like where they can offer something. Scott and I experienced this over and over again on the ride, where people are like, oh my God, what do you guys do? How do I help? Here's how I help. And it's help comes in whatever variety of help that they have. And I don't know if Scott's audio is working bad, but can you hear us, Scott? I'm assuming Scott cannot hear us. All right. But so that help comes in a lot of different ways. So we got to be open to receiving help, to be also helpful to that person who's offering it. Mm-hmm. And it's a blessing when you get to do like a magic of them helping you and you're helping them at the same time. It's a real neat position to find yourself in.
It's that is a true thing now. And here is my thorn that I'm going to admit publicly right now. I do not have the best corral system that's out there, and I need a corral system that can hold the cows in, put them through a bud box, put them through a squeeze chute. I don't have that. I don't have that at all, and I don't have 10 grand right now to go get one. I don't have that, brother. Yeah. And for the past 3 nights, man, I've been sleepless because winter is coming, and I need to take care of my cattle with what they need for their health. And that's been bothering me, because if I don't have something in place, I feel like I'm letting my quote unquote my battle buddies down. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm letting them down. And that's my struggle right now that I could tell you guys about now. That's a thorn in my paw that it's changed my eating habit. It's changed, man, my way. Today I've been very passive aggressive, man, with my wife for no reason, because I can't find the resource or the solution, brother. Yeah. That makes sense. And this is definitely something that's good for me, just to be talking to family right here. For we're having issues with something, and I'm definitely having an issue with that. And I don't see a way to get one right now. You know what I mean? I don't see it. But dang it, I need help, Scott.
God, I get exactly what you're saying, because I feel certain things where like, look, I live very modestly. I don't have a lot of surplus, really no surplus money. Matter of fact, I probably run a negative, week to week, and I'm trying to sort it out, but it's not proven an easy problem to solve. And I've been humbled enough that my life, I don't need a whole lot of money resources, but I need enough, and so
Yeah.
it's hard. And I take that out on my girlfriend and my friends, and it's humbling to be humbled. And then it's humbling to constantly be humbled and reminded, like when my account goes to 000 before the end of the month, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to have to rely on somebody else.
Yeah.
And man, think about that, in our world, right? I'm going off the camp every damn day,
Yeah. Yeah.
collecting, doing shit that nobody else can do. And now
Yeah.
I can't make enough money to get through the end of the month. So you want to see my thorn? There it is right there.
Yeah.
It's just trying
It's
to
hard
scratch
for us to
get
ask.
these-
It's hard to admit that we need help with that. We're providers and protectors. You know what I mean? And dang it, I need help now. And it's
Yeah.
hard to ask for that help. And I think that's one of our biggest problems. We're so used to those positive resources from the military.
Yeah.
That now it's hard for us, man, to feel like we're struggling with something. We need help with that. But to talk about it is where we're struggling at. And
Yeah.
this
What
tonight's show is, I needed this, brother.
Good, man. I love it. Well, this is the other thing. So there's two things I want to say. One is we've got to do this, right? We've got to build this network of each other, and we call and we reach out and we're active, so that I grab you in the middle of your rope way before the end of it, and that we're just constantly maintaining each other with love and connectivity. And look, and maybe I try to be a mensch. I try to be able to connect people together. And so who knows? Maybe there's somebody in my network right now that's got 10 grand and understands exactly. Yeah, maybe there's a used one, and they're just like, fuck, I'll take a used one. I'll get by for a year. With that. Who
I
knows?
will take a use one.
Right. But we gotta set that out and put it out to the universe, as they say. Scott's having trouble with comms, so he wanted to make sure I thanked you. So if he gets his comms figured out, we'll have him come back in. But
Absolutely.
yeah, and then the other thing, shit, I forgot my other point. We were talking about these things, and they're also important. There's so many of them, and for someone who's struggling, and feeling like they can't get better, I suppose you and I would say you can get better. You can improve where you're at, and it might take some help. Probably will take some help, and you probably gotta work on letting go of that alcohol. You gotta probably work on a lot of things you don't want to work on, but that's where better is.
Yeah. Man, since we're being honest with each other on here, it affects multiple things in my life, from where one of them that was the most embarrassing was, dang it, I started forgetting things big time. Like, how did I get here? What is going on?
Oh man, yeah.
Number two, big one for me, was activity. If I was drowsy and I don't want to do anything, I struggle with that a lot now. Number three, sexually, brother. And I was like, I didn't have it in me. I needed to get something accomplished, and next thing you know, man, I wasn't where I needed to be at in the relationship with my wife like that. So I had to really sit down, man, and regroup myself. And man, I was starting to get a gut, you know what I mean? And I was starting to lose myself, man. And I just last week into what is that program called? It's where they help you to lose weight with the VA. Huh?
Like a Weight Watchers kind of program?
Yeah, they got it for the VA.
Okay.
And where they call you every, like, once a week. They call you once a week to help you with your weight. Talk to you about diet stuff and so forth. It's a great program because I want to get myself back together. And number two out of that same thing too, it's it helps me to admit that I need help in that area by gaining weight. We're so used to that slim fit, that 670-1 body.
Yes.
No, brother, not no more. Man, I'm eating milk and cookies and a lot of sleeping. My children, my boys is what run this farm.
Uh-huh.
They run the farm. It's not me, man. The way that I get out here and do it, is all through my boys. They're the ones that should be standing next to me now on both sides of me, because they're the heartbeat of this whole brand, to include my wife.
I believe it.
I came home the other day, was with some friends, and my wife is out there on the tractor putting out hay for the cattle. And all I could do is sit there and just look at her like, wow, just to see that you have someone amazing in your corner that believes in you and supporting you. That just felt so good to see that, man. And that made me want to just humble myself to let me pay more attention to that,
Yeah.
I got to admit it, that I needed help in that area. I found something that I think you'd be intrigued of.
Please.
Pete, I personally think, this is just Marvin, I personally think the military should allow people to transit out of the military 160 days before they get out, to go to mental health, to go to a doctor while they're still in uniform, to get the help that they need.
Yeah.
Because there's a because for that, because at that time they could talk about things. They're going to remember the things that they need more. That 160 days can give them more help to help them transition out of the military, from where we're so used to the word yes. Yep. Anything you can do in the military is yes. Can you make this happen? Yes. 1 block. So there we go again, another 1 block. But when you get out of the military, we hit 3 words we don't like, brother. That's no, denial, and rejection. And the military needs to train people, and during that 160 days, of what they're going to expect of getting out. Give them real world situations and show them how to prepare for this. Give us more in uniform before they get out of uniform for the validation of themselves. And that, I personally think, that'll save a lot of lives, to prepare people for the unexpected past the fence line.
Yeah.
Once they get out, because no one knows us past that. And that's where mental health begins. Because once you get out and you start hearing those words, no, denial, and rejection, there's that downward arrow, brother. There's that downward arrow. And we isolate, we crash, we pick up bad habits, whatever it may be, to feel associated with things that's not even part of who we are as professionals.
Man, that's exactly right. One of the things I wanted to add in earlier, and I couldn't remember what it was, I brought it back in now, and it's a relevant point, is we've got to keep in mind that there's a lot of people on our side, if we allow them to be, right? We're talking about that, identifying those thorns in your paw. Man, I got to tell you, we drive across this country, again, people are jumping out of their cars to find out what Save the Brave is and how they can get involved and how they can help. And
I love that outfit. I love that.
Man. Yeah, they're desperate to do it. And Scott, here's the thing is part of my job. We're on this ride, right? Like, I'm sort of like chief of staff guy. I'm like, okay, we got to be in this place by this time. But then Scott starts having a special conversation with somebody. You know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to let the schedule be the master of the relationship, And so I'm like, I'm going to let Scott, if Scott needs a break, he gets a break. If Scott is having a conversation, he has that conversation, because there are people we are looking for people who are desperate to help. And when we find them at a Buc-ee's, at a Flying J, at a Love's, man, you found them. Keep talking to them. And right. We got to believe that in our heads, that there are people out there. And maybe this person isn't the person who has the answer, but damn it, maybe he knows the person, or she knows the person who they can connect you to, who does have that answer. I swear right now, tell me what that cattle sorter thing is called again, I will be looking for that. And if I find it, if I could walk around Afghanistan and Iraq for years and years, always looking for Bo Bergdahl, I for sure can look around and see if I can't find you a cattle sorter machine. What is that called?
It's called a cattle corral that holds 100 head of cattle. And it has what's called a bud box inside of it with an alleyway.
Right.
Yep. So it's a cattle corral with a bud box and alleyway is the best way to describe it.
Yeah. Anyhow, so that's what I'm saying, is people are desperate to help, and there literally is someone 2 relationships away from me that has a bud box with an alleyway in it. I mean, there is someone. I don't know who that person is yet, but I'm going to be looking for him.
I appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it. That thorn in my paw, that is really bothering me, and I've been depressed as I don't know what, for that reason. And I told my wife we're gonna talk about it tonight. You know, I want to openly talk to you. I got two brothers on the line right now. We could talk about this. You know,
Yeah.
that's just whatever comes out of it. But I feel better now. You know that I could say it instead of isolating myself or ostracizing myself. And next thing you know, there's that downward arrow. You know,
Yeah.
we don't know why we're headed down that hill. Just because I'm keeping things in. You know.
Uh-huh.
I struggle with that a lot, but I want to talk about it though, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You get that thought, I may as well be dead if I can't find this damn thing, you know?
Scott, what do you do? What do you do for yourself in that area, you know, for mental health? What do you do for a pastime?
Well, it's always important to talk about it because next month is Mental Health Awareness Month. And, you know, we were talking about this before the show when you were having some troubles logging in and then I had some troubles staying on. And we were talking about the different types of modalities. Just one size doesn't fit all. You know, some guys like the pharmaceuticals, some guys like THC, some guys like riding their Harley across the country, some guys like cows, horses, dogs. It doesn't matter. I think we found, you know, it's not a one size fits all, but for me, I can relate it to exactly what you just said, Marvin, was, you know, you get that buildup and you almost want to tune yourself out and unplug. And that leads to so many things.
Yeah.
I have so many personal examples where I think in my head, I don't want to do this. I don't want to get out. But the minute I force myself, just grab myself by the stack and swivel and thrust myself into it, I know because of the pattern I've established that the end result of being connected and meeting so many new people who I know genuinely care about our mission, about helping veterans, about being a good person, about giving back, they're out there. And what you're doing through Briarwood and sharing your story, even the parts that are you might think or some might think are shameful. Like I was about to kill myself. I had a gun in my lap and my mom called me and then had to have my dad talk me out of it. What most find embarrassing, I find truly inspirational, brother, because you're telling people that even though you get to that point, that jump off point where you think there's nothing else, you're living proof. And I think that if even one person watches this show and realizes that who may be struggling, you've changed someone's life. And you'll probably never meet them, but you should know right here that you did. And that's,
I appreciate that, brother.
That's a fact.
That gave me chills, man. Thank you. I want to use my farm, man, to help out with that because it's a place, man, that we can come and talk at the fence line, and it stays at the fence line.
Where's the farm? Where's the farm located again?
Absolutely, it's in Red Springs, North Carolina, is where we're located.
Springs, North Carolina.
Yep. And
as much as I strove to get out of that state when I was in the Marine Corps, I definitely want to come back though and visit the farm so we can meet face to face.
Hey, Scott and Pete, then I want to say, well, come on back home. Then this is where you're at right here.
Oh, I like that.
I got something that you would like here. So in the back of the property, way in the far back, I got a single chair back there, and in that chair, I could see the whole layout of the property, or borderlines, and I go way back there and just sit down in that chair, peace and quiet. Up under the shade tree, the deer walking by. Wow, that's lightning. Nice. The deer out there walking behind me, the cattle are right there. That's a peace of mind for me to unload and to say what I can and can't do. And I just go to that chair, and I want to welcome you, brother, to that chair because it's a place, man, of serenity, man, just to say, dang it, I can let it all go here, and whatever happens at that chair in your conversation, it stays there, man. But you come out of there feeling a whole lot better.
I tell you what, Marvin, that chair is representative of something missing, and it's not saying anything badly about social media or technology, but how consuming it can be, and it creates anxiety in some cases, overwhelming. But you just asked me a question: is what do I do? One of the things I'm trying to do more as I age and gain a little wisdom is also to be present and really appreciate those things, not just things in nature, but even if it is on social media, like maybe just not scroll so fast and just be present and see the importance of one single thing. And it could be cows, it could be a boat, it could be a person, or listen. That's an important skill that I've tried to continually teach myself throughout my life. So that's a great place to envision myself, is sitting in that chair, just soaking it all in and being present.
You know, Scott and Pete, one of our biggest problems that no one is never really paying attention to is that in the military, we're challenged every day, and that creates a hell of a rush for the adrenaline. Adrenaline is the key to everything that we're all talking about right now. The word adrenaline is right in the middle of it. But if we don't associate of how can we filter ourselves to work this thing out some kind of way with our adrenaline, it builds up. And there's that passive aggressive, there's that alter ego, there's that poser, whatever it may be to try to move that out. There's that sexual addiction. Since we're talking, if you to get into the sexual side of it, you can have sex with somebody and she don't even see your face because she's in every other position, man, from where she don't make no connection to you. Those are signs that, hey, something is wrong here. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we're trying to put value in that relationship, but I'm just saying that we're just going through the motions right now, and there's no accountability inside of myself for that reason, and that creates a posership in our relationships. That's why we're bouncing from women to women to women to women, because they all look the same. She looks just like Cheryl, the last relationship I just had. She's a supermodel just like, you know, Tammy was, or whatever it may be, because we're still stuck in that one era that we can't get out of. And to move that adrenaline, we're happy with that one style of a person, but that's where the problem is whatever we didn't let go yet. Yep, that's why they all look the same, and we do the same things over and over. But in this case, riding motorcycles is adrenaline. You know what I mean? You can go from 0 to 60, and man, that feels good with the breeze blowing on you. You know, just seeing the birds, you communicating with each other on the comms. You know, you're going from state to state, weaving through lanes, listening to some old school or whatever you're doing. It's adrenaline. Anything that we're doing as veterans, it has to have something to funnel adrenaline inside of it. Everything. I don't care, man, if we head to the range, man, to lay some rounds down, adrenaline. I don't care, man, if it's building race cars, adrenaline. And we got to do something with our hands to accommodate that, brother.
A whole lot of truth in that right there. Everybody listen, pay attention. That is the truth. I don't know how many guys I know from this is more Green Beret guys, Special Forces guys, but if they're at their house in Colorado Springs, they're going to cut every goddamn tree down in their property. Not because it's going to improve the property at all, but those trees need cutting, and someone's got to do it. And I'm not going to sit around here all goddamn day and not cut trees. And so they'll go out, and then they'll go to their friend's house and be like, "Hey, man, can I build you a shed? I got a bunch of wood." You know, like we are built this way. Every day you got to go out. Every day you got to go find the bad guy. And a lot of times the bad guy becomes us when we slow down.
Yeah,
we got to deal with him. You know.
Yeah, our hands hurt a lot, brother. Our backs hurt a lot. You know what I mean? That stress that's built up. How do we move that every day, man? We gotta. The medicine, man, that I take, God of mine, that stuff is so strong, knocking me out for 3 days, man. And then I'm so sluggish after that. I don't know if I'm coming or going, but I have to take it, you know what I mean, to get myself, man, back together, because if not, I'm gonna get spun up, and you know, I don't want to be that type of person, man, from where I'm causing something. So I admit that I gotta stay consistent on that, man. But I'm trying every day, man. Where's that magic pill that we all need, man? Where is it at, man? Because coffee is we're some coffee drinkers. God Almighty, you know, that's adrenaline. You know what I mean? There it is. That's the booster from the first thing in the morning. We're looking for that, you know. I don't know. I don't know, guys. I don't know it all, man. And I just want to, like you say, Scott and Pete, man, I want to help out. But truly, the people that I have around me are the same people that are just like me, from where I could talk to and I can help out. I don't know people in the civilian world that we could talk to that understand abbreviations and whatever it may be. Trusting somebody. Integrity is huge with us. someone screws you over one time, you only get one chance with us, one time, and we're done, buddy. It's no use for even engaging that no more adrenaline. You know what I mean? There we go again.
I was telling Pete before the show, and I tell a lot of people is, and you're living proof of this, is whatever that fix is, whatever you choose to do, just be great at it, and just be great at what you're great at, and share that with other people. And I'm definitely gonna, when I get out to the East Coast, man, we got to schedule something. I'd love to see what you guys do out there and follow up. And I want to say thanks for sharing your story, not just with us, but your story is all over the place, especially with People Magazine. And that takes a lot of heart, and it takes a lot of capacity, because not everybody can share that story. And you're doing it probably for a lot of people that want to do it, but just can't. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me when people do that. And I know it's tough picking that scab open sometimes and bleeding in front of total strangers in a magazine or on TV, but you did it, and I'm grateful for that. And I'm looking forward to doing some link up ops, brother.
I appreciate that. I want to talk about that just 1 second here. Man, I was scared to get naked in that area. I felt so vulnerable in that area, but I don't want anyone to feel like I did, man. You know, to be at the point from where it's so dark, you don't see a way out. So I wanted to be the sacrifice, man, to say, for the therapists or the doctors or whoever, you don't know what you're looking at unless it takes for somebody, man, to tell you what it looks like on the inside, you know. And I want to be that kind of person, man, that, you know, we're trained in special ways that we can see things all day long. You can walk in a grocery store and you can spot it, whatever that may be, because you're trained in that. But if you wasn't trained in it, man, then you wouldn't know what you're looking at. And that's how we're getting misguided, man, with this help, you know. And I just wanted to be someone that could talk about it. After that night, I want to tell you something about that. That article hit 600 million people. It's the #2 article that People Magazine put out this year. And I was very thankful for that, to reach people, that it did touch, you know, that many people. But Scott and Pete, it's scary to open yourself up to that. I've had friends that came to me now, reaching out for help now, that I'm a huge fan of the Wounded Warrior Talk program. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's called the Wounded Warrior Talk, TALK, from where you can register, and it's free with them. And with Talk program, they would assign a friend with you or a battle buddy with you from your branch. You know, assign you a peer partner, and once a week, or when you need them, you can call them. No evaluation on it, nothing that's kept recorded. It's somebody you can depend on that's in your corner when you need someone to talk to, like us right now. And I'm a huge fan of the Talk program with Wounded Warrior, and that's how Wounded Warrior came out with that. With the Cattlemen's Association, NCBA, the Beef Checkoff family. I want to speak on that because farmers, in my vision of agriculture, farmers and preachers, in my case, I want to say, are two people that deal with mental health, but no one addresses them or help them out at all. The question of the day is, who helps the farmer out? If you're not a farmer, you're not going to help that person out. Or who helps out the minister, the priest? Who does that person have to talk to? Because remember, they're there for you, but who helps them out? Who helps out the therapist? Who helps everyone out? No one is paying attention to that. And we just need to be upfront and say we need help. I'm tired of carrying this in my backpack, man, that I'm hurting. I don't have it all figured out, but I'm learning now, man, to ask for help. Talk program is something from where I can go to, and I can lean on those guys. And that's where Wounded Warrior came in at. With NCBA, I reached out to other cattlemen and ranchers that are dealing with things. You got a failed crop. You got cattle that have passed away in the heat. There's that downward arrow again, brother. You know, who helps you out, man, with that. No one's reaching out for that, you know. It looks exactly the same as in the military, reaching 1 blocks. We're forever reaching 1 blocks, but we don't know how to turn that off because we are a subject matter expert in ourselves and what we believe in, and we want to go to the next level, man, and do right. But dang it, I'm seeing 2 blocks now because I don't have the right resources for it. And I just want to be a conversation piece to keep that going, to talk about wounded warriors and for people to address us for where we need help, and stop feeling like we're not valuable, and we are valuable. Military sees you in 2 ways: soldier or equipment, 1 of the 2. And once you get out of the military, you feel like equipment, and you don't have a name no more, none of that kind of stuff. You're not valuable, so let's take you to DRMO. Let's call that VA. You know what I mean? And they don't treat you the same no more, but we got to do something, man, better. We got to treat our veterans better in this great United States here. I love this country. I'm here, man, to do my part. I'm here, man, to salute everyone, man, that needs help like me. And I'm offering whichever way that I can as a brother, man, as a battle buddy, whatever you want to call it, to reach out, man, to save lives, man, because I don't want anybody to feel what I felt. I don't want that. We need them, and they're loved and they're appreciated. And I want everyone to know that, you know. And I'm very thankful, guys. Thank you so much, because tonight you're my therapy tonight for what I needed. And I thank you for that, guys.
Yeah, no worries. I have 2 more things to say that I'm going to let Scott say something, then you're going to get the last word. But also, everybody, save the brave, savethebrave.org. Don't forget, we work on trying to get these veterans up and out of the couch and involved and, you know, contributing in some way, or go fishing, or grab a rowing stick and go row with me to Dern, or whatever it is. We're going to bend our backs. We're going to get to know you. We're going to make you part of the family, and we're going to get you some help. So if you got someone in your life, or if you are that someone in your own life, save the brave, savethebrave.org. Peter, Break It Down show. I'll give you my damn phone number. I don't care. I just don't want to get these phone calls anymore when you decide to conclude your life. I want you to be part of life. And so we're doing our damnedest to reach out to you guys. The other thing I want to say is we had the DOC on the show. Scott and I know the DOC personally, and we just love this guy, right? And I had him on the show, and he said, I reached a certain age where I realized all this shit in my backpack, most of it didn't belong to me. And I just started taking it out and putting it down. I mean, damn, that feels better. And he just kept pulling shit out of his backpack that just wasn't his, you know?
Yes.
You got to reach an age of maturity where you're like, I care about you, I love you, but that is not my shit, and it's not going on my back.
That's right. That's right.
That's what I have to say to close out. Scott, what do you have for us?
I'm reading a book right now written by Sylvester McNutt. It's called Care Package. And he talks about that being the never-ending empath that feels they have to do stuff for so many people. And for us, as people that spend a large part of their adult life in the military, serving people and taking care of other people that couldn't take care of themselves, that's a big part of transition. But what we're doing at savethebrave.org and what you're doing, Marvin, through your work and sharing your story, that's helping people. And at the beginning and the end of every day, I love being surrounded by people like you that care. That's the most important leadership quality to me. And it's not in any textbook that we read in Department of Defense wide. Just care. And you're already in good stead, in my opinion. I just want to say thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. I greatly appreciate that. I got to get one of your shirts, man. Or what is that? Is that a jacket you got on there? We
got shirts. We got swag. You name it, man. I'll get the address from Pete after the show. It's coming your way.
My man.
Yeah. Anything in closing at all, Marvin? By the way, there's Sylvester McNutt's website for his books. Do what Scott says and read that book and feel better. Anything you want to say in closing, Marvin?
Yes, I do. To let everybody know that they're loved. Team up with somebody, man, that appreciates you. Talk to somebody. Don't hold it in no more. You know, get out and find a battle buddy, man, that you want to call and talk to. Call me. You know what I mean? Let's chat it up, brother. I don't mind. You know what I mean? I definitely need you. We need each other on this earth. And you are valued and loved and appreciated. I just want everybody to know that. I'm just so grateful to be part of you who's listening to me right now. Yeah. That's it, brother. I greatly appreciate it.
All right, everybody stand by for a sec. I'll shut this thing down.
Hey, thanks for watching the show. I really appreciate it. Right here, you can subscribe. Please do that. It makes the show grow. Hit that notification bell so you know which incredible guest is coming up next. Down below is the PayPal link. You can put a small subscription in. That is an enormous help. All that money goes right back into the show. And then right up over here are the next episodes you should listen to, curated by yours truly. Thank you.